Boolean expression which evaluates to either true or false, and it can be one of the following shapes, right? So it could contain T, which evaluates to true. It could contain F, which evaluates to false, and there are three different logical operators. Let's look at the first one, which is the not operator. So in this case, you look at, if you see an exclamation mark followed by a bracketed sequence, then it evaluates what's the logical not of what's in the sequence. So let's say this sequence evaluates to be true, then you return false because that's the not of it, right? And it's likewise, if it's, let's say if there's false here, then it would return true because this is a not operator. The second operation, the second expression we're looking for is the AND operator, which will return the AND of all the values inside. So let's say if I have like true, false, false, whatever, right? You return the combined AND of all the Boolean values here, right? A similar thing can be explained for the OR operator, which is this vertical slash, as you can see here. So you return the combined OR of all the Boolean values inside here. So let's look at some of the examples that they show us in the question. Right, so here in this example we have OR false, right, which we evaluate to false. Like we're going from the innermost bracket to the outermost bracket, right? So we start from here, if we OR false, which will become false, and then now if this become false, then we have AND false, which is just going to return false. So that's why you get false for this expression. In this scenario, you have an OR operator and only one bracket. So it will evaluate the OR of all the booleans here, which is false or false or false or true, which is going to return true, right? So you return true for this example. And then for this example, you can see, I'll go back to the slide, you can see that the innermost bracket contains its AND F and T, right? So what this means is the AND operator between false and true, right? So what would that return, right? An AND between false and true is going to return false. And once you have that settled, then you go on to the next bracket, which is going to be not false, right, which is going to be true. So that's why in this case you can return true in this example, right? So let's see how we can go about solving this problem, right? So looking at the fact that this is a problem which involves opening up brackets and solving them sequentially, one method we could think of is by using a stack, right, to ensure that we go through the brackets in order. I think I will plot a stack and explain how we can use a stack to solve this particular example, right? So let's say we have a stack here as the following, right? So as if many problems based on parentheses and evaluating them in the correct order, we keep popping stuff into the stack until we see an end bracket, right? So let's go from left to the right of this expression. So at the bottom of the stack is going to be an exclamation mark, and then an open bracket, and then an and symbol, right, and then another open bracket. We don't see a closing bracket yet, so we just continue on and on. We see F, right, and then we see a true here, and then at this point we see a closing bracket, right? So when we saw this closing bracket, it means that a valid sequence has been completed. That means that there has been an opening bracket along with a closed bracket, which we can now simplify. So when we do get this, what can we do here, right? So we can pretty much just pop out the elements that we see. So first of all, we just take out the closing bracket because we won't need it again, and then until you see another opening bracket, you pop out whatever is inside to a array or something. So we will have T, and then we'll also have F, right? So in this scenario, let's say if I have an array, right, it's going to have two values, true, and it's also going to have false, right? So this is all the arguments in this AND function, right? So as we go on, we have to pop out the open bracket again, as no longer relevant, and we kind of figure out what the operation we need to perform on this array. So when you pop one more time, you get the AND, right? So what this means is that you need to AND all these elements in this array. And as we explained earlier, if you were to AND true and false, you are going to get false, right? So let's say if I were to get false here, which is what is a result of this AND operation. So now if I get false, and then I can put F back here again, right? Okay, so now we have this operation, right, which is just going to be not sorry, this will be not, right, not open bracket and then F, right? And then we notice that when we go on to the next element in the string, we're going to see closing bracket, so we can kind of put a closing bracket here, right? So when this happens, we trigger the same scenario. We need to pop out of the stack, right? So we kind of first pop out the closing brackets, we don't need it anymore, and then we only see F, right? So once again, we have another array which is just going to be F in this case, right? And then we can pop out the opening bracket, right? So this is the element in the array. This is the array that we need to work a function on. So we pop out one more time so as to get what the operation needs to be, and we find out that it is going to be not, right? So in this case, we can see that it's going to be not of F, so which is going to evaluate to true, right? Now we can pop this back into the stack, right? So we can pop true back into the stack. So by this time, you would have realized that we have reached the end of our iteration. So which means that all our brackets would have been analyzed, and now all we need to do is return the only element which is in the stack, and that is going to be our answer. We can code this out on Python, right? So to create our stack, we import the dequeue from collections, and then we iterate through the string that we have, right? And ch, we set it to be the current character in the string that we're iterating through, and we append it to the stack, right? As we saw in the example, we only need to like execute our popping out of the stack when we meet an ending bracket. So if the character is finally an ending bracket, then we pop out of it. So what popping up here does is that we are kind of removing the closing bracket, right? So after that is done, then we initialize an empty array which is going to store our arguments within the smaller functions, right? So we do that using a while loop. So we have to check while there's a stack, and while the element is not, the element that needs to be popped is not an open bracket, then we pop that element, right? And if the element is going to be in comma, then we can skip it, otherwise we need to append it to the array. So by the time it's done, our array would have all the elements which are in the sub problem, which is a sub smaller bracket, right? After that, then we stack.pop again, and this one is going to remove the opening bracket, right? So after that is done, then we need to find what the command is, which could either be and or not, right? So that's going to be what we're going to get out of stack.pop. right? So this is going to be the removing the command. And now this is some housekeeping for the array that we have. So let's say if the array that we have contains these values, right? Array is equal to tf, tf, or whatever, right? Since tf, tf are not like are not like Boolean values, we kind of need to convert them. So let's say if it's true or if it's equal to 1, which you can see when we perform the conversion later. We set array I is equal to 1, right? So or otherwise we set array I equals 0. So let's see how this transforms the array, right? So now initially we had this array on top, which is tf. So t becomes 1, f becomes 0, t becomes 1, and f becomes 0 again. So this will allow us to perform our commands in a correct way, right? So what we do, we check what the command is, right? And if based on the command that we find, the execution is going to be kind of different in how we determine like what's the result of the operation. So if we get the AND command, basically we just AND all the elements in ARR, an array, and then we append the result. And then if it's going to be an OR, then we do the same thing. As you can see here, we just iterate through everything in the array, and then we just get the OR of all the elements and we append to the start. If the element is a NOT, right, then what we do is just we go through, we AND everything, and at the end we return NOT of the final answer. So by this way we can ensure that we correctly populate stuff back to the stack. And by the time we iterate through the entire string, you would have gotten either 0 or 1 in the stack. If it's 0, you return false. If it's 1, you return true. So that's how you solve this problem. So for time space complexity wise, for time is going to be O of n, as there are no nested for loops, and we don't sort stuff, right? And it's a linear kind of operation. And as for space complexity, is going to be of O(n) as well, as we need this additional stack, which could be total length of O(n). So that's how we solve this problem, and thanks for watching.